Most conflict between two people is rarely just between two people. There is often a third presence, sometimes visible, sometimes invisible. Psychology explains why tension between two individuals often pulls in someone else, and once that third person enters the dynamic, everything changes. This is the psychology behind emotional triangles. By the end of this, you will understand why emotional triangles form, what they do to the brain and nervous system, and how they quietly shape relationships at work, in families, and in romantic life. More importantly, you will begin to see when you are inside one. An emotional triangle forms when two people in tension involve a third person to reduce discomfort. Instead of resolving the issue directly, they redirect the emotional energy outward. It sounds simple, but it is one of the most common patterns in human relationships. Imagine two partners arguing. Instead of speaking honestly to each other, one confides in a friend, or they focus their frustration on a child. The original tension is still there, but now it is diffused. The third person absorbs part of the emotional charge. Why does this happen? Because direct conflict feels threatening. The brain interprets relational tension as danger. When attachment feels unstable, the nervous system activates. Heart rate increases, stress hormones rise. Involving a third person lowers that intensity. It creates temporary relief. In family systems psychology, triangles are considered a natural response to anxiety. When stress between two people rises beyond a comfortable level, a third person is unconsciously recruited to stabilize the system. But stabilization comes at a cost. Let's slow this down. Have you ever felt caught between two people who are in conflict? Maybe a parent and another parent, a friend and their partner, two coworkers who refuse to speak directly. Did you feel pressure to choose sides, to mediate, to carry messages back and forth? That pressure is the emotional weight of the triangle. Your brain becomes hyper-aware of maintaining balance. You monitor tone, you soften language, you adjust your behavior to prevent escalation. It can feel exhausting. Here's the surprising part. Emotional triangles often feel safer than direct intimacy. Direct communication requires vulnerability. It requires tolerating discomfort. Triangles allow people to avoid that exposure. They can vent, complain, or seek validation without confronting the core issue. The third person becomes a buffer. In romantic relationships, triangles often show up as jealousy dynamics. One partner mentions an ex frequently, or seeks attention from someone outside the relationship during periods of tension. This creates comparison. Comparison activates insecurity. Insecurity increases emotional intensity. Intensity can create temporary closeness, but the closeness is built on instability. At work, triangles look different but follow the same pattern. Instead of addressing concerns with a colleague directly, someone talks to a manager or gathers allies in subtle ways. Suddenly, the issue is no longer about performance or communication, it becomes about loyalty and alignment. Social alliances form. The brain is highly sensitive to social belonging. When triangles form, people become preoccupied with their position inside the group. Am I included? Am I excluded? Who supports me? This activates the brain's threat detection system. Now, here's an important question. Are you more comfortable discussing someone's behavior with others than addressing it with them directly? Most people are. That preference does not make you manipulative. It makes you human. Direct conflict activates fear of rejection. Indirect processing feels safer. But when indirect communication becomes habitual, triangles multiply. In families, this can become generational. A parent complains to a child about the other parent. The child becomes the emotional confidant. The child feels special and burdened at the same time. They learn that love involves managing other people's emotions. Over time, this pattern can shape adult relationships. They may unconsciously step into mediator roles or feel responsible for keeping peace in social groups. The triangle becomes familiar. What happens in the brain during these dynamics? When you are placed in the middle, your nervous system stays slightly activated. You are anticipating shifts, monitoring reactions, trying to maintain equilibrium. Chronic activation leads to emotional fatigue. Yet there is also a reward element. Being chosen as the confidant can feel validating. It signals trust, importance, belonging. That mix of stress and validation creates psychological glue. This is why emotional triangles are hard to exit. They provide both tension and meaning. Consider friendships where one person constantly shares drama about another mutual friend. You feel closer through shared secrets, but the closeness depends on someone else being outside the circle. If the conflict resolves, the bond may weaken. That can create an unconscious incentive to keep tension alive. Pause and reflect. Have you ever maintained a connection primarily through discussing a third person? That is not judgment, it is awareness. Triangles can also create distorted perceptions. When information flows indirectly, it becomes filtered. Emotions intensify. Nuance disappears. Misunderstandings grow. Direct conversations tend to reduce distortion. Indirect ones amplify it. There is another subtle effect. Triangles prevent emotional growth. When two people avoid facing discomfort directly, they never build the skills required for healthy conflict. The system stabilizes at a lower level of maturity. Children raised in highly triangulated families often become skilled at reading emotional undercurrents. They sense tension before words are spoken. They adjust themselves quickly. This can look like emotional intelligence, and sometimes it is. But if it comes from chronic anxiety, it carries a cost. In adult romantic life, triangles can become a way to regulate insecurity. Instead of asking for reassurance directly, someone may provoke jealousy or compare their partner to others. The goal is not necessarily to hurt, it is to elicit proof of attachment. But proof gained through fear rarely builds safety. Let's shift perspective for a moment. What would it look like if two people tolerated discomfort long enough to speak honestly without involving a third party? It would likely feel awkward, maybe tense, but it would also reduce long-term anxiety. Breaking triangles requires emotional courage. It means refusing to carry messages, refusing to take sides automatically, encouraging direct dialogue. That can feel destabilizing at first. The system may resist. People inside a triangle often react strongly when someone steps out, because the triangle was regulating anxiety, but healthy relationships require dyadic strength. Two people able to tolerate each other's emotions without outsourcing them. This does not mean never seeking advice. Support from others is valuable. The difference lies in intention. Are you seeking clarity or avoiding confrontation? One builds growth, the other maintains avoidance. Emotional triangles are not rare. They are everywhere, in offices, in friend groups, in families, in romantic partnerships. Once you see them, you cannot unsee them. The deeper insight is this: triangles form to manage anxiety, but they rarely resolve the original issue. They distribute the discomfort instead of transforming it, and distributed discomfort often becomes chronic. When you learn to identify triangles, you gain a powerful choice. You can decline to participate. You can gently redirect. You can ask, have you spoken to them directly? That simple question changes dynamics. It shifts responsibility back to where it belongs. If you recognize yourself as someone often placed in the middle, consider what it would mean to step out, to release the role of mediator, to allow others to manage their own tension. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it also creates freedom. Emotional triangles teach us something profound about human nature. We fear disconnection, we fear rejection, so we seek safety in numbers. But real relational strength comes from facing discomfort directly. If this perspective resonates, reflect on the triangles in your own life. Notice where tension flows indirectly. Notice where you might be carrying emotional weight that is not yours. Share your thoughts if you feel comfortable, and continue exploring the deeper patterns that shape your relationships. Awareness is the first step towards calmer, more direct connections.